Let's see how this goes. Welcome to this, our 19th episode of Apex Instant Tips. Happy Good Friday, everybody. Coming to you live every Friday at 12:05 Eastern. For 5 minutes only from Massachusetts, my name is Hayden.
And I'm Anton. And wow, I guess we really do mean every Friday. I think a lot of folks are off this week, which means that our vast quantity of listeners may go from 3 to 2.
Insum really drives us very hard. Before we launch into it, Anton, I want to make sure that you have given thoughts to last week's puzzler.
I have given some thought to last week's puzzler. I have actually up on my screen the switches. If you want to recap the puzzle really quickly,
So hands off the switches for just a second. So I'll quickly recap it. The premise is I have a light bulb that is controlled by a switch panel that I've given access to Anton through Apex. Anton has to ply his wits against to try to figure out which of the 3 mystery switches controls the light bulb. So at the end of the episode, Anton will
show my screen. Show my screen, and we'll show folks the switches. And what I'm going to do, Hayden, right now is I'm going to turn on switch number 1.
Oh wait, I'm going to move okay, go ahead.
Okay, switch number 1. Did I see a little glare in your forehead?
No, it's out of view. You can't see it.
Are you sure? Okay, I've got 2 switches on. I'm going to leave those switches on. We'll come back at the end of the show and we'll review my result of the puzzler.
An interesting part, no comment.
All right. So I'm glad that once again I have shirked all duties and did not have to provide this week's tip of the week. But I understand we have a celebrity guest once again.
We do. We're lucky enough to be graced with the presence of our friend and colleague, Jorge Rimblas. Welcome, Jorge.
Hey, hi, everybody.
Welcome back to the Insum Cinematic Universe.
Wow, even if it's just for 5 minutes, but it's fun to be back. And I didn't know it was a celebrity presentation. I would have prepared better.
Well, we have more celebrities than viewers, I'm sure.
Well, it's good to be here.
Great. Well, as you know, we have one rule. It's not about quality. It's simply about quantity and lack thereof. You have only 5 minutes.
All right. Well, I think I'm ready to go. I think we'll give it a shot.
Okay.
Oh, and hey, but before we start, I was thinking about last week's time zone tip, and I've been using some of those techniques a lot because I think it's so much better to get the localization name and all that. So thank you for that, and I like that.
Jorge, not only a celebrity but also a viewer. I love it. I did take to heart Hayden's comment during that tip, though, that it seemed like a lot of work to get functionality that the globalization feature almost works for. And I took that to heart. I went ahead and looked at the previous tip about creating plugins. I went ahead and created an item plugin for this. The plugin's available on apex.world already. Download it, put it in your app.
That's very nice.
Excellent. Yeah. So anyone, I think it's really could go in just about any application.
I've used it. I highly recommend it. I think it's a must-have for any application, particularly if you're using anything related to time, which of course almost all applications do.
Great. Well, we've already wasted more time than we normally do at the beginning before our tip, so we better get this thing over with.
All right.
Nobody wants to hear this.
All right. I'm ready to go.
All right.
So I'm going to time you, Jorge, and so when you say go, I'll start the timer.
So let's say we have this fictitious form to transfer employees, and we select one employee, and we select the department we're going to transfer them to. And as a requirement, I need to display more information about what's going to happen. I'm going to show that Adams is in accounting, and I'm going to be transferred to operation, which is in dire need of employees. So I'm going to do the transfer, and I have that information displayed. Now, if I go back to Adams, I can see that now accounting has less. Now, how do you think this could be done? I've seen a few ways to do it. Hayden, do you have any ideas?
Sure. At first blush, I might guess that so you already have the values of Adams and accounting, and so you're just missing the values for operations and the count of employees in accounting. So maybe you have some hidden page items that you're referencing via substitution variable?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I've seen that done, and it will certainly work. But I think it's very cumbersome. I think you have lots of items, and then also you got to implement a feature where if you switch the department, now I got to switch different information and get a different count, and that's also cumbersome to do. So what I've done instead of that is to do a classic report. So
but this doesn't look anything like a classic report. This, I mean, I'm looking for a table and row counts, and
you're totally right. You're totally right. So I'm gonna show you this other view where I haven't worked on it, and that's probably what you expected to see when I said a classic report.
Exactly it.
That is totally your out of the box report. So before I run out of time, here's how we would do that. So here's my report. I get my data. But a lot of people don't go to attributes. And I want to point out that you could change the template and the theme and how it's displayed. In this case, I actually don't have to change those, but I am going to go to template options. And I'm going to disable alternating rows, disable highlighting, disable, turn off the borders. And in this version of Apex, I could even get rid of pagination. But instead of doing that, I'm actually going to turn off the pagination. And that would be something that would work on any version of Apex. And if I run this, I'm getting very close to my text. But then we still have those headings. So let's take care of it.
The headings is the one that I have a mind block about how to turn it off.
Yeah. Also within attributes at the bottom, you can search for headings, and custom headings is the default. I'm going to switch it to none. So now we're getting way closer to our output, but I still need to take care of that text. Now, borrowing from a previous tip where you use HTML expression, I'm going to hide the columns I don't want to use. I'm going to go to the name and use the HTML expression, and I'm going to paste some text where my employee name will be transferred from blah, blah, blah to that. And I even went ahead and made it plural. If I have a single employee, I'm going to get an S if I have more than one, I'm going to get an S or not. So save that.
That's great too, because it's fully language translatable. That's the way to do it.
That's right. Now I got hidden. That always gets me. I think that's sort of a bug. I made that change, but then I switch columns, so I lose that hidden value. And there you go.
Absolutely.
Now, the only other thing that I should mention is that's a text, but there's a dynamic action that I have on the item, and it's a single dynamic action that has both items in it.
And it's funny, the label says items, but I often forget too that I can put more than one item in there, and I don't need to duplicate the dynamic action.
And it doesn't matter which one I change. Now I'm going to show my report or hide it if it has no values, and then just simply refresh. Now under refresh, don't forget to do the page items to submit. That way the database will know exactly what values your user selected and will use those values in your query to obtain the results that you need.
Jorge, I'm going to point out you had a client-side condition as well on that dynamic action, just really quickly. And I think that just checks to see that they're both valid. They're both input. That's it.
I want to check that I have employee number and department with a value. And if they do, that's true. And I show and refresh. Otherwise, I hide. Done.
All right. Beautiful. Right on time. I love it. Nicely done.
And that is our time. So congratulations for getting that under the wire.
I like that.
I love the sort of callback to the HTML tag in there as just a piece of the overall tip. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I think those HTML expressions are incredibly powerful, as you guys explained. I think they're underused. They provide safety so that there's no injection and so much freedom on what type of layout you do in your columns. So this tip can be expanded to present your data in very different ways with a lot of styling if you want. You can put a lot of HTML in there.
Yeah. Well, I want to make sure we're gonna come back with wisdom of the week and the results to this amazing puzzler, and we'll certainly answer questions. Jorge, you're going to stick around as well?
Oh, you bet. I'll love to. Yeah.
But if you just came in for 5 minutes, do all the things. ring the bell, smash the bell, subscribe, all of those things. So before I reveal the wisdom of the week, I'm going to say about it. First, it's timely, but hopefully we won't need this wisdom for very long, despite being timely. And secondly, Hayden, have you ever had a meeting where the meeting gets canceled? And that's better than even having no meeting at all, because you planned for it and then you got the free time.
I think that describes every meeting.
This week's wisdom of the week is definitely about that. And the wisdom of the week is to plan to lose a day after receiving the COVID-19 vaccine. If you don't have any troubles with it, that's great. Then you didn't lose a day. But I will say, I recently got dose number 2, and it wasn't bad, but I was feeling it for a day.
But you made out from the first vaccine without any issue.
In my case, no issue. I didn't even have no sore arm, nothing. But the second one, I felt a little under the weather for a full day, and I've heard lots of different results out of this. But it's better to plan for it, I think, and then be happily surprised.
I bet that was a surprise after the first one being a non-event. You really were not planning to be out for a day.
That's exactly what it was. I didn't anticipate having the trouble, but I wish I had planned for it, because of course it makes just everything else kind of back up if you didn't. But yes, I am now lucky to be fully vaccinated. Absolutely.
Congrats.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So feel free to ask any questions that you might have. We'll try and wrap this up quickly, but I do want to make sure we get back to our puzzler. If you want to share my screen, Hayden.
Before we launch into it, I wanted to ask Jorge a question.
Oh, great.
So Jorge, there are so many options in the classic report attributes. How did you figure out the right configuration of options that suited you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think awareness is the big thing, and there's a sample app, the Universal Theme Sample app, that you can use to look at multiple options. But there's no substitute for playing with things, right? Just explore those template options and explore your theme, the themes, and talking about themes. I just saw a comment from Angel that is super powerful, and Angel actually taught me that when I had not used it before. If you have a report where you use the aliases are called alert title, alert type, that alert can look like a success, like a warning, like informational. You can control what type of alert you're displaying. Right now, my alert was static. It was always a warning, but you could dynamically change that through the classic report, how you display it. So that's a super tip too from Angel.
Very clever.
We're getting extra tips today. I think it's great.
2 for 1.
Super. And again, if others have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. But while we're waiting on any other questions, why don't we go ahead and take a look at the puzzler?
I am intrigued by your level of enthusiasm, Anton. You seem very confident.
Well, as you can see, we have 2 switches on. And if I simply turn off one switch and you show the light bulb lit, I will have solved the puzzle. We can agree with that, right?
Yes.
It's so simple. All I have to do is divine from what I know of you. Are you the sort of man who would use switch number 1 or switch number 2? Now, a clever man would use switch number 1 because he would know that only a great fool would choose switch number 1. But I am not a great fool, so clearly I cannot choose switch number 1. But we have known each other for a long time, and you know that I am not a great fool. You would have counted on it, so clearly I cannot select switch number 2.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going.
I got totally lost on that explanation. Keep going.
Where was I?
Anton, you were trying to trick me into giving something away. It will not work.
It has worked. You've given away everything.
Then make your choice.
I choose switch number 1.
I'm afraid you guessed wrong.
Did I? Please touch the light bulb.
It's hot.
Aha, and there we have it. It was, in fact, switch number 1 that was controlling the light bulb because it was hot. And despite being off, we could tell that it was hot.
Test the switch.
Here we go. Let me try it. And there it is. The light goes on. All right. So we have divined that it was, in fact, switch number 1. Obviously, if the light bulb had been cold, it would have been switch number 3.
Brilliant. Well, very, very clever, Anton. There's no outwitting you.
Well, this has been a great pleasure, Jorge, to have you on. And
thank you. Thank you very much.
And Patricia, I'm delighted to see your comment. Do all the things.
Yes.
Smash the bell. Write letters to your friends. All those things.
I'll see you all next Friday.
Indeed. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.